All right. Let's go. Take your seats. Right there. Maybe your feet stink. Thank you, dear. How are you, sir? All right, we're going. The only one that needs to be talking is Keith if he's got anything to say to you about your books. When we stay this long, we can't get them handed out. Y'all, just on a personal note, yesterday, 2 days ago, I lost one of my two best friends. It gets hard. Okay, I'm going to pray into this thing and hope it works. Gracious Heavenly Father, we ask you to forgive us of our sins, to say thank you for the many wonderful blessings that you give us, the gifts, but most of all, thank you for being there for us. Lead, guide, and direct us. Let us do things that please you. Let us use our brains. I ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay. Maybe there's not any brains up here. Ms. Taylor, be quick.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a bill, House Bill 74, under modified open, the fourth one down. This is a department bill. It is helping to clarify the risk-based capital. We need to increase it from 2.5 to 3.0, and it will make our consumers a little better protected. We would be able to identify any carriers that may be close to receivership or having problems. I ask for your favorable consideration. Thank you. Are there any questions? Thank you.
Wait a second. No questions. Thank you. Mr. Jaspers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just have to tell you, there's been a lot of brains that has been worked on House Bill 76. And that's what I'm asking for the electronic submission of plats to clerks. It's a bill that's really needed by the clerk of courts and the everyday work that they do. Ask for your favorable consideration on it. Thank you.
The question has come up between, in some communities, they don't have anybody on call every day. Is that true? Who asked that yesterday?
Pardon me, I don't.
John, what? Ask him.
So the surveys will have to go back in and to the community to get some signatures from different officials in the counties, cities, and local jurisdiction. Is this?
You're not on, but I can go ahead and try.
Okay.
No, sir, but I'll come over there so I can hear. I don't hear well.
Natural.
I'm good now. I understand there's some, now you can hear me.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I understand there's some conversation and some concerns about the ability to connect with some local governments, if you will, where we need some signatures on some of these documents before they're even filed with the clerk. And some counties don't, local jurisdictions don't staff some of these positions full-time. And there's a difficulty in getting some signatures at the appropriate time and really delaying the process and creating an undue burden, if you will, on the surveyors as they try to make sure these plats are correctly done. You heard that?
Yeah, there's a correction for that in the bill from how it is right now. There's 4 different plat certification boxes that fit each community. It's been a lot of interplay between all interested parties, ACC, GMA, to make sure there's a certification box for each. And also, Mr. Chairman, it also has electronic submission in it so that it can be done a lot quicker.
So
But it
you've
also
addressed that
has,
issue.
but it also keeps in there if you're a county that wants the rubber stamp, the signature, and the clerk to be able to see it. It's all fit in there. Yes, sir.
Thank you for doing that.
No more questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Turner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I bring HB 40, which is the third one down under modified open. I had a young constituent, a 5-year-old child, get bit in the face by a dog, and when its mother tried to ascertain whether the dog was up on its shots, the veterinarian said that by law they were not allowed to divulge the shot history of that dog. So HB 40 would allow for the treating physician to determine or to send a written request to the veterinarian asking for the shot record to make sure it's up on its shots so that they can make an informed decision on the treatment of the wound. I would ask for your favorable consideration.
Any questions? No questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Committee, again, I bring HB 14, specifying that sheriffs that collect fees, that they must go to the county treasurer. Thank you for your favorable consideration. Any questions?
I meant to be brief, but damn, I mean. Sorry. That was a slip. I will slip more between now and the end of the session, so just live with somebody. Mr. Spencer.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Asking for House Bill 1 on the first page under modified structure, House Bill 1, that provides a competitive standard that makes Georgia competitive with Florida, Texas, and other space states. This is the Georgia Space Flight Act.
We have questions. Mr. Fleming.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Spencer, isn't it true, as I understand it, that because of your work on this bill, many people are beginning to refer to you as a rocket man?
That is true. I'll be the first one on the first rocket, and you never have to see me again in this house if you pass this bill.
Okay, Mr. Knight.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and to the author, I know we've spoken of this before, but as we're coming out on this bill, this falls under some of the standards, as you said, FAA and federal, as far as safety and the ability to secure the area. If you could, maybe, as we had spoken before, maybe get me some of what the federal rules are so we know exactly what we're acquiescing to as far as those things, so that we may know, what is on the horizon with this. I'd appreciate that before we start moving too quickly. Make sure we've got that under consideration.
I'll do that, Mr. Chairman. Those federal rules and regulations are very voluminous, but I will extract those that you are concerned about. Thank you.
No more questions. Thank you. Mr. Gravely.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If you'll go to the bottom of the page, House Bill 146 simply states that a legally organized fire department in the state of Georgia shall provide and maintain insurance for firefighters who have been diagnosed with a specified cancer, and that insurance, if the firefighter is diagnosed with one of the specified cancers, shall provide a $25,000 benefit payout if the cancer is discovered to be career-ending, or that they, after a reevaluation of 6 months, that the firefighter must separate. It would provide for a 3-year 60% salary protection for that firefighter. The bill also provides that if the firefighter wishes to continue with the insurance after retirement, that the firefighter would maintain the premium for that insurance, but that would also receive a tax credit for the premium paid. It's my understanding that there is an amendment out there, Mr. Chairman, that would properly determine the initial cash payout based upon the severity of the cancer.
Mr. Martin. Mr. Martin.
Yes, sir. To the gentleman,
Yes, sir.
I'm not an insurance expert, but I did want to raise this question. When you're talking about providing an insurance policy, if it's directly related to a form of cancer, certainly the chairman of insurance has the amendment. My question is, are we sure that we're making that definition broad enough so that the firefighter or the person that we're trying to insure doesn't get in a wrestling match that their disability wasn't directly related to it? I refer to those policies in the past where you had special riders on a life policy for cancer or the like, and then you got in an argument with your insurance company that the person passed of pneumonia that was directly related to the cancer. And I just wonder, I know you've done a lot of work on this bill,
Yes,
and I just wonder if you could elaborate to the committee here that we have taken care so that these folks in these tough situations wouldn't have to have that debate with their insurance company.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's actually a very good question. We deliberated all summer on the types of cancer that we wanted to lay out in this bill. Matter of fact, in the insurance committee just yesterday, we added a specific cancer because we wanted to make sure we were covering both male and female firefighters. The cancers that we ended up going with on this list are cancers that studies from the CDC, Harvard University, and Johns Hopkins have determined to be some of the most prevalent cancers in firefighters. Also in committee yesterday, we also discussed the fact that if down the road we were to find a cancer that is showing up that is not currently on this list, that there is provisions or that there is room for us to expand that list as needed going forward as we see the data, as the data comes in and we can evaluate that data. If we need to add to that list, we can do so at the appropriate time.
Ms. Jones. Ms. Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wanted to mention to Chairman Martin that it's my understanding that the cancer actually doesn't have to be related at all. These are cancers that do show up more frequently, but it's a statistically smaller amount more. I think the way I look at this is it's a benefit to our firefighters. But for example, if a female firefighter comes down with breast cancer, it may be because she has a genetic predisposition to that. It has nothing to do with being a firefighter. But we're going to offer this, and I support the bill, but I don't think you have to worry that a firefighter will have to prove it's directly related. It will simply be a benefit with a list of cancers that if a firefighter comes down with one of those, that firefighter will receive this benefit.
Yeah, Madam Pro Tem is correct.
I think that Chairman Martin's question is that sometimes there is seems to be a fight between insurance companies and the victim on paying disability benefits for later on. This thing has a disability and it begins in 6 months and it lasts up to 3 years. My recommendation, and thanks to Mr. Gravely, he's let me have some input, and Mr. Smith, your small communities aren't going to be able to do this. GMA and ACG have worked hard with this thing. What they have realized is the people we're talking about are their employees. and they're going to have to be pooled. They've already got the expertise on all manners of insurance and other things. They would buy into the pool, which would greatly decrease the cost to the cities and counties. And after a history of since 1983 with those organizations, they do their best to pay claims or a salary, if that's what you want to call disability. They don't fight it near like the horror stories of the past. That's really not a I don't even think it's consideration anymore. With that said, thank you, Mr. Gravely.
Thank you.
I'm going to let you do it right now. Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Gravely mentioned that we have an amendment to this. It's AM 251388. It kind of clarifies how these payments will be delineated out. If it's a really severe cancer, it's the automatic 25. But if you'll notice, one of the cancers is skin cancer. You know, if you just got something, a tumor or something on your hand that has to be cut out, it won't be the 25,000. It'll be delineated based on severity of the illness. Plus, there's a couple other areas where some word changes on the back, going from private insurance to insurance purchased by the firefighter and all. But this kind of cleans up the language on the payout.
Is there any questions? No questions. I'm going to kind of jump ahead of myself. Mr. Smith might have to leave here shortly. This is an amendment that you can approve in rules that will go on the floor. Do I hear a motion to approve the amendment? Any opposition? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by aye. Aye. That amendment will be on the floor Tuesday. All right, Mr. Illustration.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the Rules Committee. Under modified structured HB 121, this uses portions of the Uniform Trust Code relating to non-judicial settlement agreements and a process of creating a new trust called decanting. We'd ask for your favorable consideration.
No questions. You want to do the other one?
Yes, sir. Also under modified structure HB 122, this increases the year in the rule against perpetuities from 90 years to 360. That's consistent with neighboring states in the Southeast. Would ask for your favorable consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No questions. Mr. Powell. Wait a second.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I bring to the committee House Bill 39. This bill is being asked for by the Georgia Real Estate and Appraisers Board. It changes some of the requirements. It's sort of antiquated. Currently under statute, if you're a licensee that they control, whether you're an appraiser or a real estate professional, then if you are convicted of any type of a crime, you're supposed to immediately report that to the commission. And the penalty for not doing that is immediate revocation. They have no leeway in whatever that crime might have been as if it was a minor crime. What they've asked for is the language that you see before you. It changes immediately to within 10 days of the date of conviction, and it changes automatic revocation to may be revoked by the board within 60 days. It also sets up a process so that that licensee can file an appeal so that they can hear it, and that way they can remediate whatever that conviction based on the severity of whether they revoke or sanction or suspend or whatever. Asked for by the Real Estate Commission and Appraisers Board.
Any questions? Thank you. Mr. Fleming.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the committee, asked for under open House Bill 88 under modified open rule. Mr. Chairman, as I mentioned yesterday, this is a bill that deals with the qualifications for our Superior Court judges. We had a little judge race over in Augusta and had a fellow who got actually disbarred, and had he got elected judge, he still would have been able to serve. This simply fixes that loophole that was discovered in our law.
Any questions? None, okay. Mr. Earhart. Okay. Who's doing 154? Mr. Hatchett.
I would like to ask for 154. That's the agreement between the hygienist and the dental world on expanding access to preventive dental care.
No questions. Mr. Ward's not here. Ms. Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to ask that on 154, if it's possible to move that to modified structure since it's an agreement between the parties, and would like to keep that agreement and have it hold.
The last part, we'd like to do what?
Pardon?
What was the last part you'd like to do?
Just that it was a carefully crafted agreement between all the parties, and, want to make sure that agreement stays the same.
Okay. All right, we're gonna set it. Under modified open, Mr. Jones, because you're so swift, you get to be on. HB 14, do I hear a move? Any opposed? It's on. Under modified open, HB 88, any opposition? It's on. Under modified structure, HB 146. Do I hear a move? Any opposition? All right. And you've heard the amendment and it's passed out. I need a move to put it on the floor also. Any opposition? It's on. That's it.